What if the wisest, most trusted guardian of Middle-earth had taken the One Ring? What if Gandalf himself had accepted the burden, not as a guide, but as a wielder of its terrible power? This is one of the darkest what-ifs in Tolkien's legendarium. Gandalf, the Grey Pilgrim, the servant of the secret fire, choosing to claim the Ring of Sauron. Could he have defeated the Dark Lord once and for all? Or would Middle-earth have fallen even faster, consumed not by Mordor's shadow, but by the blazing tyranny of a new master? Welcome back. Today we explore what would have happened if Gandalf the Grey had taken the One Ring. The story begins in the Shire. Frodo offers Gandalf the ring in Bag End, terrified by its growing weight. Gandalf steps back in dread, warning, "No. With that power I should have power too great and terrible. And over me, the ring would gain a power still greater and more deadly." Why does he fear it so? Unlike men, hobbits, or even elves, Gandalf was no mortal. He was a Maia, a spirit of the same order as Sauron himself. He came to Middle-earth in the guise of an old man, cloaked in humility, bound by the Valar to guide, not to dominate. But the ring was designed for domination. For a Maia like Gandalf, it would not only grant unimaginable strength, it would magnify his every thought, his every fear, his every flicker of pride. He knew it, that is why he refused. But imagine, just for a moment, if he had not. If Gandalf had taken the ring in Bag End, the Fellowship would never have been formed. He would not have entrusted the quest to hobbits, nor placed hope in the fragile hands of mortals. No, Gandalf would have resolved to face Sauron himself. And at first, it would have seemed the perfect solution. The ringwraiths who shrank from fire would have cowered before him. Orcs would have fled in terror. Gondor and Rohan might have rallied under his banner, seeing him not as a guide, but as a savior. But the ring deceives. Gandalf's mind, filled with noble intent, would twist toward domination. He would justify his growing will to rule, peace through order, justice through strength, freedom through control, and Middle-earth would have obeyed, not out of love, but fear. The great question is this: could Gandalf, armed with the ring, actually overthrow Sauron? The answer lies in the nature of the ring itself. The ring contained much of Sauron's native power, bound to him when he forged it. If Gandalf took it, he would wield Sauron's own essence against him. The battle would not be one of armies, but of wills. Gandalf, aflame with white fire, standing against the eye of Barad-dûr. A duel of spirits older than the sun, older than the moon, each seeking mastery over the other. A duel between them would shake the very foundations of Middle-earth, with kingdoms holding their breath and the fate of every living soul hanging in the balance. Could Gandalf win? Possibly. Tolkien himself wrote that if Gandalf had claimed the ring, he might have overthrown Sauron. But here lies the paradox. In overthrowing him, Gandalf would not have destroyed evil. He would have become its new master. If Gandalf triumphed, Middle-earth would awaken to a new age, one not of Mordor's black shadow, but of a burning white flame. Imagine Gondor's armies marching not for a steward or a king, but for a sorcerer. Imagine the Shire under a stern watch, its simple folk pressed into service for the greater good. Imagine Elrond, Galadriel, Aragorn, all who once trusted Gandalf, now forced to bow before him. This is not wild speculation. Tolkien himself wrote that Gandalf with the ring would have become a figure far more terrible than Sauron. "I would become like the Dark Lord himself. Do not tempt me. The way of the ring to my heart is by pity, pity for weakness and the desire of strength to do good." That is the most chilling thought of all. Sauron ruled for cruelty, but Gandalf would rule for good. And that good would justify every act of tyranny, every chain of slavery, every silencing of resistance. The Dark Lord in white would command absolute obedience, and he would believe it was righteous. If Gandalf failed, the outcome would be far worse than in the story we know. The ring, bound to Sauron's very essence, would inevitably slip back to its master, either through betrayal, corruption, or sheer overpowering will. In that moment, the Dark Lord would be restored to his full strength, wielding his complete dominion over Middle-earth without rival. The free peoples, already weary from war, would have no champion left to rally behind. Gondor and Rohan would fall swiftly, and the elves would flee west in despair. The Shire would be trampled, Rivendell extinguished, and even Lothlorien's light would fade under the shadow. Worse still, Gandalf's fall would serve as the ultimate proof that no one could resist the ring's corruption. The Age of Men would never truly dawn, for Middle-earth would pass entirely into shadow, sealed under Sauron's eternal reign. In the end, Gandalf's refusal was not weakness, it was wisdom. He knew that power, even when claimed for good, would twist the will and enslave the world. This was Tolkien's theme: the greatest strength lies not in domination, but in humility. That is why the quest could never belong to Gandalf, or to Aragorn, or to Galadriel. It had to belong to the small, the humble, the overlooked, hobbits who desired no power, hobbits who could resist where even the wise would fall. Frodo bore the ring to the very brink of ruin, and when he stumbled, Sam bore him. It was through their small, weary hands that the fire of Mount Doom claimed the ring at last, ending an age of darkness that no wizard, no king, and no army could overcome. So, what would have happened if Gandalf took the One Ring? The truth is, there was no victory to be found on that path. If Gandalf claimed the ring, Middle-earth would face only two endings. Either he would rise as a White Dark Lord, cloaked in the illusion of good, or he would fall, and the ring would return to Sauron. Both outcomes end in shadow, and that is Tolkien's lesson. Power, even when grasped with the best of intentions, cannot be bent to serve good. Gandalf knew this. He was strong enough to challenge Sauron, and wise enough to see that even he could not master the ring. His refusal may well be the greatest act of courage in the entire legendarium. Perhaps the most haunting thought of all is this: Middle-earth was spared not because of great power, but because its greatest servant chose restraint. What do you think would have happened if Gandalf claimed the ring? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this dive into Middle-earth, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Thanks for watching, and as always, see you on the next one.